Morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
It's cold and dreary, actually, and raining a little bit.
Yes, this here.
So I had a retreat on on Friday with a client, and I had my alarm set for 1:02 p.m.
1:02 p.m.
That was the exact time of the fall equinox.
Ah.
Oh, and why did you find that alarming?
I knew it was going to happen right as we were wrapping up lunch, so I thought it was a good segue into let's get going again.
Weird.
Yeah, but I said, I told everyone, I said, okay, everyone, I have an announcement. And they were all like, oh, she's going to tell us it's time to go back to work. It's officially fall. Met with cheers and groans. So. You don't often get that opportunity as a facilitator to use something like that as a afternoon icebreaker. So.
But you're wrapping up. So you don't need to break any ice.
You have to break the log jams of other things that are happening sometimes. So. Really good group, by the way.
Aren't you lucky?
This is my favorite policy governance implementation of all time. I absolutely love it. So we had the discussion about now what do you do as a board and how do you, what are some things that you can do? And they're working with at-risk children and families and that sort of thing. And one of the things they want to do is to start to talk with other boards. And I said, well, I want you to be forewarned that not all boards are going to be as good as yours. And several of them said, well, maybe that's something we can do. We can help make them better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. Hi, Linda.
Good morning, Linda.
Hi. Good morning. Apologize. I thought I'd get back before what it takes to have Fuze open. Good morning.
Whenever you're in a hurry, that's when the camera decides not to work or the audio is coming out of the wrong place or something.
Or a large system update is going on. Yeah.
Yes. As soon as you ask for something, that's when it says, oh, let me do an update. No, I need you now.
So, how is everybody? Has the week been kind to you?
Yeah, I had a great week.
Good.
How about you, John? What's on
I've been, I was saying to Robert, sort of fiddling around trying to get things tidy before we swan off to the Mediterranean tomorrow for 10 days. And trying to pack too much into too small a space and without falling out so far. This is I think my last piece of non-holiday activity.
Is it?
And then I shall leave it all behind.
I'm going to transport myself to London right now and sneak in that suitcase.
Yes, well, we're looking forward to it. We haven't been to Mallorca for 25, maybe nearly 30 years. So, and we're going to a part that we were not familiar with. So it's all pioneering stuff,
That's great.
So what have you been up to, Linda?
Work of various kinds.
Good.
Seems more nondescript, but the weeks go by.
Yeah.
And I will announce that Howard was committed to expand his walking to 4 to 5 miles from about 2 miles, which is a little unprecedented for where he is with his blood counts anyway. And yesterday we did over 4, like between 4 and 4.25. And he did well with it. And he's like, fine. And I'm thinking, I don't know, just physical exertion. Who knows what that provides? So it's very exciting.
Does he like it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does. I mean, from his standpoint, he's got like 8.6 hemoglobin, which is pretty low. At 7 transfusion, it happens. But that was a number of months ago that, he wants to be able to have he was thinking there should be a system that will kick in, because he can't, the only way you can tell what your blood counts are is you have to go for blood tests, right? But some way that you have these infusion systems where it would know exactly when something drops and then tells him to take nutrition or do whatever he needs to do so before any symptoms show up. And they say, well, that's a good dream to do that. But you've got whatever signals you've got, right? So he's gotten tuned into that. And what can he do? Rest or eating ahead of time, or the kind of things he can eat ahead of time that'll keep him going. So it would, and we've been doing like between 2 and 3. And he said, all right, I'm just going to set a goal of 4 to 5. Or whatever that is, and then so
how long does that take?
For Howard, it takes about 2 hours, a little under 2 hours, and for me, pacing is what is actually going to better benefit me. So I will loop him. We're walking, and then I'll pace ahead, and he'll go a little faster because I'm paced out, and then I'll turn and come back again and overshoot him and then come back again. So I'm getting my pace walking in, and we're both going together. But for him to do it without stopping, without any symptoms of leaning or whatever, it's just like it's just great. So.
Smashing.
Well, good for both of you. My goodness.
Well, we do remember, you think about the times once when you did and realize that you're probably not in that frame of mind again. But I had a client in downtown San Francisco. So we were staying, and he came with me. So we were staying in a hotel downtown, and he had gone to the bay side. He'd walked to the bay. And so we did that on one day, and we stayed a couple of days afterwards. And then we thought, we'll just walk to the Pacific Ocean. And he had looked at the map and he said, oh, it's not but X number of miles to get to the ocean. We say, great, we'll go walk. So we headed out in the morning and we made it to the Pacific. And then we turned around and came back, and it started getting darker and darker. And we thought, we could just pick up the bus and get the bus to downtown. No, we'll just keep on going a little bit further. And then when we calculated it, it was 12 miles round trip. So that's one of those significant things we say, well, we did that once in our life. We should be able to go 4 miles.
I know that feeling.
We were never so hungry or so tired that night. And we're thinking, okay, I get why that was.
Yes, I find that's the problem with using exercise to lose weight. It makes you very hungry.
That's not about losing weight, but yeah.
I know. It is for me, though.
Yes, I don't want to talk about it. We had dinner with some friends. She's just retired from the NHS. He's self-employed. He installs house extensions of a particular kind, like an orangery or a conservatory, things like that. And he's been quite ill recently. He had a heart attack, and then he started getting a lot of fluid on his chest. So it was kind of nice to see him, because whilst I've known his wife for many years, I've never met this guy, Regan, before. And we had a great evening on the Saturday night down at our favourite wine bar and restaurant. And we were talking about children and education. And he was saying that he knows a guy who never learnt to read or write. He knew his way around numbers. If you said to him, do this calculation, he could do it kind of instantly. So something of a savant, I suppose. But he never learnt to read or write. He's got fabulous people skills by all accounts. And his business, and I can't remember what his business is now worth £26 million. So what price literacy? Yes, tricky when you're beating your children up to get their nose in books and do this and do that, and then you hear a story like that. I won't tell them. So we've got the information about the money in the bank at the moment. You all got that, didn't you?
Yes, thank you very much.
It occurred to me that last time I tried to do this, the email system broke it all up. So I hope you got it reasonably readable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed.
Good. And I reckon that what we've got left will cover about another 17 months of base camp. Okay.
And if we and how much was
And I didn't do the Zoom thing, which I sit here and feel terrible about it.
you have to take care of that before you go to Mallorca.
It's the holiday preparation. I can't cope. So I was so pleased I got on with the base camp stuff. I was obviously glowing, or in the afterglow of having done that. Forgot everything else.
But Robert also proposed a solution using Fuze.
Yes, he did, and I clearly that has many attractions, not least of which is we're very familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Some more than others, I will grant you, but we are very familiar with it. It's become hugely reliable. Quality, as one sitting here using it, the quality of picture and sound is really good. Apart from the echo that Robert gets from time to time, that's age, Robert. There's nothing else.
No, it isn't. It's on the recording. I heard it. You heard it too.
Different voice in my head.
No, we're going to have to track it down and be rid of it.
I'll get the echo police in.
Yes, we'll have to get the echo police in.
My clients that I introduced it to, we had 22 people on at one time, and they were very good at diagnosing what was happening, and their solution was everyone needed to mute, and then it worked fine. It came back and everything was fine. Just I think sometimes that somebody's system starts getting a loop going, and it's if you just mute everybody. And they were the ones that came up with that solution, and they've only used it twice. So, see, there's some people are just so much more savvy than I am, and it's good.
Well, the trick is to know those people.
Yeah, they really like it, and they've decided rather than doing 2 face-to-face meetings a year, they want to be doing quarterly meetings. It's for a good reason too. They're going to policy governance, so they're learning about that as well. But they're also working towards getting the size of their board reduced, and so they want to have more frequent conversations rather than fewer. And they really like it, so that was a yay. My endorsement of Fuze.
Now, are they using Fuze or are they using Zoom?
Fuze.
Fuze.
Mm-hmm. My Fuze.
Oh, your Fuze. Okay. You and I are grandfathered in.
Yes.
Is that sexist? Should I say grandfathered and grandmothered in?
No,
Grandperson did. Well, aside from being able to give you all individual hugs, look what we've done with this. I don't, personal sharing, and I don't have an
Mm,
amiss for what it costs for all of us to have traveled weekly to have this happen.
mm, mm.
Yes, and all you need to do is wear clothes in the top half.
Same as usual. Yeah.
Oh, God. Sorry.
Uh, None of us will stand up now.
John, this is the future of business.
Yes, equipment check takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, what about then going with Fuze?
Okay, there are a
I
few
haven't looked.
downsides.
Yeah,
One is the new recording. By the way, they never announced that they were making
no,
a change, which is a little concerning because if you're counting on a system and it doesn't behave the way you expect it to, you never know when you're going to be blindsided by a change. And the new thinking phones people are not very reliable. I'm actually amazed that they have made a change, and I suspect that the change came as a result of pressure from the folks who like Zoom, because it does look more like Zoom. And I think what they did was modify their systems to look like one of the views you get in Zoom. The the recording is not as high quality as Zoom. It's not bad, but it isn't as there's a I might be just too fussy because I've looked very closely at those elements. There is a bigger delay when somebody begins to speak for when it switches over, and it does it with a bit of a lap dissolve rather than a cut. Zoom is a lot
slick.
snappier.
Yeah,
Somebody says their first syllable, and it's made the switch to their image. And when I get the lip sync right, you see that the switch in Zoom is much even tighter than it seems to be at the time. And the other piece is it doesn't record the chat field anymore. The old recording had the chat field there, and you could
yeah.
pop it up if you wanted to. Now there's nothing to pop up. So if we want the chat field to be a dynamic part of our broadcasts and then part of our recording, then we need to be very diligent about copying and pasting that chat field somewhere so that we have it to put together the website afterwards. So those are the things I noticed looking at it. Um, those are things we can overcome, and for free, that might be good enough.
Yes, from
And
a
would get us started without having to engage any additional costs, and it would buy it. It means that we could begin rolling, and if we decided to change platform, that would actually be a trivial thing. We'd simply give people a different URL to connect.
yes, yes. Hmm. Right, you answered my question.
Hmm.
So, do I take that as kind of acceptance that we'll go with Fuze? We'll leave Zoom on one side for as long as
And
we.
there's one other point. If you look at the Zoom the Fuze playback, there's a little uh, uh, glassy looking arrow on the right side of it. And if you click that, you can download the recording. I thought, oh, good. I can get the recording. The lip sync is not as good as it is in the live event, or not the live event. When you go to the URL to watch it, the lip sync is better than the downloaded recording. Also, the quality of the image is better. And from a post production point of view, What this means is instead of downloading an MP4, which would have been very nice, and that's the way it works with Zoom, the better route to go is to do a screen recording, which means that I need to do it in real time and then render that and use that. So that takes an awful lot more time. I was disappointed by that. I was really pleased when I could download a recording of the event, all of which is manageable. It just means that the post-production process is about 2 hours longer than it would be with Zoom. And I'm saying 2 hours because I assume that the broadcast is likely to be in the order of an hour.
Well, I think which way we go with this, I think, Robert, you've got a key say in the matter of it, because you have assumed, and you've assumed a role here with our group that is a yeoman's role.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say that it's, yes, exactly. So what do you say?
I believe that if we decide to do this as a public effort and decide to put together a fairly snappy presentation, I think that the things we talk about are engaging enough that people will want to engage with us. And frankly, if we wait for IPGA to grow policy governance, it's not going to happen. They've got their cohort. They will grow gradually. But before it's big enough to make a difference in all of our communities, I'm not going to be around anymore. I think that this would be very good for governance and policy governance to engage people who are not presently talking about nonprofit governance, to have a place where they can talk about it, learn some good features of what they could do with their boards, and expand the conversation. And that's really what I want to do. And that's worth my putting the time in. I've certainly put enough time in anyhow, talking about it with you folks and with others. I would really like to see if we could expand the conversation and engage a lot more people.
So is that your way of saying you don't mind Fuze, Robert? Or would you prefer Zoom?
I would prefer Zoom, but I would prefer to do it without worrying about financially running off a cliff. And I think we can get started on Fuze. And who knows, we might even be able, if we did get a big enough audience, we might even be able to monetize it to the extent that we at least cover our costs. I think that if we had a number of people who saw what we were doing was valuable and wanted to be a part of what we're doing, and there was a big enough crowd out there, a small amount of money to cover our costs would be a reasonable thing to ask of people. I haven't thought that through, but I think that there must be some way, and that way we could go to a more expensive platform without it having to come out of our own pockets.
Doesn't Fuze enable that kind of spoken engagement, which Zoom restricts?
How is that, John? I don't understand.
Well, so if you've got a number of people signed in for a Fuze meeting, a number of them can participate in a conversation, a discussion. But Zoom, you're kind of limited to the major players, 3 or 4 people.
Not at all.
Other than the chat stuff.
No.
No? Have I got that wrong?
Yes. Everybody who joins can participate. And as part of our protocol, we would be asking them with either platform to turn the microphones off, turn the microphone and camera off. It's a little bit like going to a room where an event at a conference, say, where there's a panel. Everybody who arrives could go and sit up at the table with the panelists, but unless they're invited there, they normally don't. And if they are, you kick them out, you know.
Yeah, if you have a room full of 6 people, you're inclined to invite those who are sat in the audience to come and sit round the table.
That's true.
If you've got 100, you certainly couldn't do that, could you? And we've
No.
got that choice. We have that kind of level of choice.
I think the way, John, I think the way we were looking at this is we begin with a conversation, or actually a host and an interviewee. Two of us would, or at most maybe 3 of us, would engage in a conversation where one person is an interviewer and the other are the interviewee. And I think that's what we were deciding we would do as a way of keeping the conversation really tight. And you're quite right. Once we finish our formal part, we then invite people to participate in our discussion. Do we invite them to do it on camera? I don't know. I think that probably the plan was they would ask questions and we would answer them. But we could expand that. We could say, you have a really interesting point. Could you turn on your camera and talk to everybody? But the problem is you need to have all those people schooled in how not to disrupt the meeting by having echo and that kind of thing. And I'm not sure that for somebody to watch the event, as long as they've got their camera and microphone off, if they have a problem, they have a problem, but we don't have a problem. So I think the protocol would be watch and use the chat field. So I think we're going to have our hands full, being host, interviewee, and then chat room monitors. And I think that's the role the 4 of us are going to be playing. We'll switch our roles from week to week, but I think that's the game we're going to be playing in the beginning.
We need to create a producer role. I don't know how it would work. You know, I mean, you've got who's facilitating, but there's somebody that's got, I don't know, unless there's a, there's a separate, I say if you're facilitating, Robert, and then you've got that separate little voice in your ear coming from someone who's managing what's going on, opening the phone lines for you. But I don't know. I think there just may be a different way, that there's for people coming on they can participate in the chat field. There's a certain protocol for that. Then there's a protocol that if you're coming on and you actually want to actively engage or participate, then there's this certain protocol that you need to abide by, such that you're not disrupting the meeting with the camera.
I think the key there is the chat field. Pop up your chat right now, because I think that's going to be part of what we're going to be doing. And so I think if you like, the person who is monitoring the chat room is probably the producer you're talking about. That's the person who's going to solve people's problems. And I think one of the things we're going to be asking people to do is come in and put the chat on. So we'll have some things that the participants need to know to do. They've got to get, they need to know when to come into, how to get into the meeting, to mute their camera and microphone and pop up their chat field. And we're asking them to participate in the chat field. Now, let me show you what I can do here. Linda just wrote in the chat, and I just promoted Linda. So you're now one of the hosts on the site. So you can now mute people's microphones, for instance, if they don't do that themselves.
Well, thanks for that, Sherry.
And because and you must have done that. What I've done is promoted all of us to be able to be hosts on the site. So I think the person in the chat room, that's probably their job, is to see what's going on and talk to the others if there are issues.
Who just unmuted everybody?
Probably
I muted
we
everybody.
did it ourselves.
Oh,
I did. I wanted to talk. You can mute me, but
hey,
I can unmute myself.
I just talking.
And I got the gold star, so I can also take away your promotion if I want. So be careful. Now, the interesting thing is, John did something very amusing that was silent. With the new Fuze recording, that would be gone. Unless he actually is speaking, the camera is no longer in him. That's not true. There's a little tiny postage stamp. You'd have to see it in the corner somewhere.
Well, I didn't speak because I'd been muted.
Who unmuted you?
I just did.
Aha.
I tried to unmute myself when you muted me, and I couldn't. So this is
anybody.
It's actually, that's pretty useful when you have a large number of people on there, because one person can't really track what's going on, and you can tell when somebody's making noise because they light up. And so I promoted 2 people to be able to watch that on the one where we had 22 people, and so they were able to mute folks who were making distracting noises and who were forgotten to mute themselves. So it worked out quite well.
I'm getting some thumps from somebody right now, and it's not lighting anybody up, but I'm hearing some thumping as if somebody's got a laptop and they're typing on it. And that might be what's happening. If we're using the chat field, we probably need to have our keyboard separate from our computer. If that's where the microphone is. If we have a microphone like this, it doesn't matter. I'd have to tap pretty loud on my desk before you'd hear it. That was knuckles on desk, not typing.
Do you still hear it?
No.
Do you hear it now?
I heard something, but it was very faint.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a host, don't hit the mute all button. Where is the mute all button?
In the little 3 dots at the bottom.
What?
And you have more menu on the. I have a bottom screen with 3 dots and a more menu.
Oh, I see. So you can't mute all there.
Mute all.
As part of our pre-broadcast, see, I don't know what you're hearing and not hearing. We probably should tell people what the protocols are. So we really need to think those out, and we'll say them every time before the part we're going to record and part we're going to put on the blog begins. Okay, so the flags are good.
I like those.
Oh, there's 2. Now I can see it. Dismiss all, dismiss. Oh, dismiss the flags. I got it. That's very cool.
So I think the chat room monitor is going to be an important part of our event.
Mm-hmm.
So we need an absolute minimum of 3 people to pull one of these off, when we're probably better with 4. So doing this is going to be a little bit like juggling until we get used to it, isn't it?
I guess.
Well,
that's interesting. When Linda types the first time, I get her LS symbol, but when she keeps typing new ideas, all they do is get a different timestamp.
Now, if someone else wrote something right now and I wrote again, I bet it would come back up. Do you think it would come back up?
Now, when you write, you will get your initial.
Yeah.
Yep. That's okay. That makes sense.
I think it's a matter of identifying a short list of protocols. And given the nature of the chat field that it continues to wind down, that if people join or something, that there may be periodically just being able to copy it in as a reminder, just as a reminder for chat field, or if there's a transgressor, being able to just.
Are you volunteering to write the first draft of the protocol, Linda?
No.
I think since you thought about it, that would be excellent.
Okay, I'll draft something.
Thank you.
I don't guarantee that I don't pick up on what I've already put down about, playing games with the other paripticants.
I like that.
Paripticants.
Harry Tipkins.
I also, for us getting rolling, whether we have a couple of initial sessions that deal with their kind of fundamentals, just dealing with the distinguishing of governance versus management. So we're coming in kind of assuming people are oriented that way, but I'm wondering if we have a couple of just very basic conversations about, you're on the board, you represent the whole, not just your point of view or something that we may refer people back to view or get oriented around. It's a suggestion.
Not a bad idea. It means it would be on the blog and we could refer to it.
Yeah, we could. And in fact, it'd be, in the managing of this, I'm just thinking in the managing of the conversation. So we have a topic, we've got, people on the panel. I think what's great about what we're doing right now is really putting some thought into the managing of the site. There's the managing of the chat field. There's also, when I think about journalists or people who have journalist shows or whatever, they've got all these papers in front of them. But there's a familiarity with what we've already got posted, that if a question comes up or something comes up that is begging for a response, but it isn't absolutely pertain to the conversation we're having, that there could be an easy reference to say, it's an excellent point. We're not going to go in depth with that right now, but then here's the reference that you can go visit the blog and further this way. And if you have some suggestions for a future discussion with regards to this, let us know. And there's some way that they're able to get back to us even after the session completes. But there's a highly dynamic and expanding addressing of where people are, even if it isn't specifically in what's getting discussed at the time. But hey, here's this. And we're familiar with all of those and can easily post the blog link.
Thank you.
So I see. Well, I just see just the added piece about that. I just see someone actively managing the chat field, but that there may be another one of us who is the kind of a backup with it, or there's a, hey, here's where else you can go. I think there's some tag teaming here. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I think we all need to keep an eye on the chat field. It's just that it's not the prime distraction if you're the facilitator, I wouldn't have thought. Because any one of us may want to pick up on something that's in the chat field at any time. So it's kind of helpful if the facilitator has at least one eye on the chat field. particularly if things are going a bit quiet, there may be all kinds of opportunities to pick up on stuff. I was just wanting to report a bit of a loss of quality. I did have the warning thing. That's interesting. Now I've just plugged the power lead back into this machine, and the poor quality reception has disappeared. So maybe my battery saver is doing something. Well, okay. Sorry, just a little technical wow. Look what I've discovered.
These systems are all affected by the quality of our connection. And I don't even know how we know what the quality of our connection is anymore with this interface.
I just got a little warning triangle.
Oh, there's a thing in your sidebar that says network status, which actually gives you a fairly detailed list of what's going on.
Yes.
When it says data center, I have no idea what those data centers are, but that's probably interesting if we're reporting a problem to Fuze. Transport and codec, I have no idea what those are. Round trip time is essentially the delay, the latency. Jitter, receive and jitter, transmit are probably, as long as they're really short, is okay. I'm seeing 31 and 24, and I'm getting very little on packet loss on receive, but I'm getting definitely packet loss on transmit. But you're not seeing it, are you?
No.
My video seems to be smooth for you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm pretty clear that the video I see of me is better than the recording turns out to be. So you can't judge how good your quality is for everybody else by looking at yourself in this. But it's adequate for, I think, what we're trying to do, at least to get started.
What happens to the meeting note? If we take meeting notes, what happens to those? They're also, we have to be make sure that they're copied.
Yeah, and I find that's a confusing thing. If you're using that, I forget what happens to the chat. They're two separate things, and they're not recorded as part of the event.
You pick up the chat stuff through the top row of 3 buttons, but you don't copy it through that.
I think you have to do a select all. No, I think you actually have to sweep through the whole thing to copy it all. I don't know. How do you do it? I thought I figured out a way to do it. What?
I thought there was a button that you clicked on to copy chat.
Well, if you find it, let's I thought I had a way of copying that.
What we used to have.
Are you talking about the chat or the meeting notes?
No, the meeting notes I don't think are a useful piece of this interface.
But it's on the menu if you want to copy.
Oh yes, if you go to the 3 buttons. Info. I'm sorry, Linda. Go ahead.
Copy meeting info. Is that what you're?
No, if you go to the 3 buttons at the top right, one of the choices there is copy chat.
I only get undock, increase font size, and decrease font size, and undock it.
There's copy chat. Oh, right.
You see undock chat. increase font size, decrease font size, and copy chat? You don't get that?
I don't have the copy chat.
Yeah, me neither.
You have notifications on.
John, do you see the copy chat?
Yes. And then
That
I've
is
got
really strange.
notifications on.
And I'm curious to see what we get. So what I'm doing is bringing up a little word processor that Macintosh uses called Text Edit, and I'm going to copy chat and paste into it and see what I get.
God. I hope this will be an edited version that gets saved.
And I'm getting a thing that's saying that I may be having a problem with Fuze, and would you like me to turn off your camera? And I said no. Okay, yes, I do get the chat, and it's in plain text.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to be doing this, and if the chat room is part of what we're doing, probably everybody who can should make a copy of it, just so that under no circumstances do we get into post-production without having the chat.
Yeah, before you shut Fuze down, we have to do that.
Say again?
Before we shut Fuze down, you want to do that. If you do it during the meeting, you'll just be getting duplication after duplication. If you wait till the end of the meeting, you'll get everything in one hit.
No, that's true. It's part of the sign-off procedure. It's part of the protocol that Linda's going to be writing up for us.
Sherry sent a link to a university that uses Fuze online as part of its, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 subsequent policies connected to university policy agreement to which using Fuze will apply.
Yeah, they make it available to their students to use for whatever reason they would like to.
Yes.
They just want them to follow a certain protocol. But what I think is interesting is they got some really nice notes about how to join a meeting, how to host a meeting, all of that sort of thing. So makes it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I also added a note that I made it available to my client executive director, and she ended up copying and pasting some of it for the rest of the board. And some of the others took it on themselves to go and actually go to the site and read everything and learn all about it. And they were quite useful on the call. It was very good. Some people deliver beyond expectation. It's amazing.
It's pleasant when that happens, isn't it?
Truly.
Well, it depends what they're delivering.
Well, if it's more of what you wanted, that's pleasant.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they deliver more and it is not what you wanted.
Well, for me it was quite nice because I would just be on the call and I wouldn't have to really be the person constantly monitoring what was happening with other people, and it eliminated the whining. Sherry, this is happening and I can't fix it. So that all went away because now I had 4 or 5 people who were helping, and so they helped each other, and it was great. And it very quickly.
I'm hearing a little whistle in the background. What's that? Not now, but I did a couple of times. There.
That's a bird.
Well, I have a bird outside my window, and I have the window open.
That's a bird.
Sounds like
Oh.
Muttley's laugh in Dick Dastardly.
I think it's wonderful that I'm sitting here on Bowen Island listening to a bird in North Carolina.
Sounds like a blue jay, Linda.
Okay. I can move closer.
The bird likes this business of broadcasting.
Well, I had my flu jab today. That was another announcement to make. Have you all had your flu jabs? Do you get flu jabs?
Yes, but it hasn't been offered yet.
I don't do it until Halloween.
Right.
As you get older, it's usually better to do it later in the season.
Well, I think I was about 15th in the queue this morning.
Well,
So if that's true, I should probably do it on New Year's Eve, huh?
it's a good thing to do if you're going to be traveling for sure, because
Yeah.
you'll definitely encounter it. But yeah, they for those of us who reached a certain age, they generally wait until October, end of October, early November. So I just pegged Halloween as my date.
Oh, look at that. John muted himself so he could cough. Good show, John. When they're doing planetarium shows, there was always a switch on the console when they're doing live shows where I was the lecturer many, many years ago. And I found it was very convenient to be able to put your finger on the mute switch, do your cough, and continue talking, and nobody ever heard it. And
they always call it the cough button now. On the grounds that that's probably your most regular use of it is when you cough.
Your audio for me is breaking up a little bit, John.
Old radio studio. Oh well.
Shall we set a next time and what we're doing at the next call? I'll have some protocol draft.
Well, John, you're traveling this week, aren't you? And you're going to see if you can get an internet connection in Mallorca. Is that correct?
No. No, I'm not.
So our earliest.
I shall have my laptop with me.
The 9th? Are we saying the 9th?
Yes. Well, for me.
So are we all taking a holiday until the 9th? I guess that's the question John just raised.
I shouldn't be allowed to be so powerful as to cause the meeting to not meet for 2 weeks on account of I'm having some sun, sand, and sangria or something. Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering, Sherry and Robert, do you want to, sort of be working our systems here on Fuze a little bit more and then fill John in on that, or is it valuable to do that? I mean, normally our discussions, if someone can't, we shift it because of the content input. Just a thought.
The only meeting we're missing is the 2nd, and I'd be quite happy for us to meet anyhow. I think probably keeping the momentum going is probably a good idea. We might use the time to map out some of the things we want to begin to broadcast. We could even do little rehearsals. I think there's lots we could do.
Is that fine with you, John?
We're getting really serious about doing this, so I think that trying out some of the systems, I think 3 of us can do that. That still gives us a person in the chat field and 2 people to talk to each other, and we could switch roles and see what it's like to switch roles.
I might spy on you.
Yes, you could. You might even join us.
You could do. You could be in the chat field.
Well,
without a camera.
They're an hour ahead in Spain, so what does that do now?
Hits it into supper time, I'd imagine.
That would be 5 p.m. for me.
Yes.
Well, if I can join you, I will, but I'm not planning to. Let's put it that way. I might be so totally bored by Monday that I will look forward to the excitement of the spearing.
And we will excuse you if you show up with a sangria in your hand.
And a funny hat, yeah.
And a funny hat. Does everybody in Mallorca wear funny hats?
I have no idea. I'll let you know. Right, copy chat.
So the only people who can copy chat are John and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've copied it all onto a Word document, which I can send to whoever wants it.
If you save it as plain text, it's actually easier for me. I've done it too. But at this point, all we're doing is seeing how this all works.
Yes, well, at the moment it's an 11-point Calibri brackets body with a normal style layout, whatever it's called, and I think it looks quite attractive. Why would I want to do it in text?
Because I have to put it into HTML to put it on the web. That's why.
Can you change it to text from a Word document?
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry that it misses your bright colored initials.
Have I got bright coloured initials? Oh, the purple.
Yes. In fact, you've got a really nice pink.
I've got the looks like the same as Sherry here.
Yes, you do. You share the same color.
Who is challenging my comment about
both of you.
Part frozen.
Does anyone know how to get back to the full chat field and not just, I've got just John talking to John. I don't know what I did.
Okay, that's important. What did you do?
Uh-huh.
Well, when you go into chat, you can select a private chat.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yeah, chat to group or chat to.
Where did I get that?
I'm thinking it's down in the. Let me see.
If you, I don't see it unless I pop out the chat, and then I have the choice of.
Oh, that's
doing
it.
things.
View and docket.
So if I pop it out and click on the plus, I then can talk to individuals. And but I've also got a symbol for the everybody. So once I've talked to somebody or once I've selected that somebody, I can go back. So you need to be able to have that feature. You need to pop out the group chat.
Pop out?
Yeah, it's the undock feature.
Oh, undock it. Okay.
And then you'll have two screens, one with everybody on it and no chat, and one with the chat and the pop out. At least that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, and that little plus sign, you can go and select individuals to chat with.
And I think that's maybe part of our warm-up procedure before doing a broadcast is we school people in how to use the interface.
Yep.
We also have the opportunity to mute all cameras. So probably as we roll up to the broadcast, we should mute everybody's camera and microphone, and then those of us who are hosts turn on our own and ask that other people don't.
Is there any reason, I'm taking this very personally, that I can't demote anybody?
Who can't you demote?
I haven't tried to demote anyone, but I notice if I just put my cursor on Sherry's picture or Linda's picture, they have demote, chat, and mute symbols.
Yes.
All I've got is mute. I feel rather hurt about that.
Oh, you mean you can't demote yourself?
Right.
Well,
You can't.
That's all you can't demote is yourself, because
So,
you are all powerful. But I can demote you.
so
How
does
does
that
that
mean
feel?
does that mean
I took
Linda
your
and
star
Sarah
away.
are being demoted? Yeah.
You can take away her power to mute you.
Wow.
I know. So by the way, Robert, I just wanted to mention this. I did find with the chat, you don't have to undock it to get that feature. But what you do have to do is up at the top, roll across, and it'll bring up that little plus sign.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I rather like undocking it because my camera is to the right of my screen, and I like to have all of the faces close to the camera. In fact, if somebody else is speaking, I want to have their faces close to the camera as possible. So I'd rather have the chat field way over there. It's actually quite different. I'm looking at Linda, who's closest to my camera right now, and she is not that far off the camera. Camera's there. Hi, Linda. There's Linda. And the chat field is over there. So it's really quite a distance, you know? So you can tell when I'm looking at the chat field. I'm looking quite distracted, as you can see.
This has been very interesting. And a reminder that we've probably got to do a bit more of it anyway. So if you guys
Yes,
are
we do.
going to do something,
If we're going to be using the features of this interface, we need to be fairly fluid at doing it. And we've gotten pretty accustomed to doing the handful of things we always do and nothing else.
So if I click on, if I move the cursor to Linda, and there is a chat symbol there. If I click on that chat symbol, I'm now able to chat direct to Linda.
Yes, I think that's exactly the way it works.
And yeah, so
then you got to be able to find your way back to everybody.
Yeah, but that's okay because it's up there with the two document symbol below the plus.
All right, somebody just popped up something.
I did something.
You
Wow! Was that me or you? I don't know. Everybody's clicking stuff.
I did that. I did it.
Very good. Oh, troublemaker. I find this message from Linda, you see, I find people who are technically inclined always eager to support others. That's great. Well, yeah. Yeah, except when
so, Linda, you wrote the red high, is that right?
No, I did.
No.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And we're all blaming Linda.
Par for my life. Whoa! What happened here? What is this?
So how did you do that, Sherry? Aw. Oh.
So if you go down to the share menu, right in the center at the bottom, when that pops up over to the left, you'll see share a whiteboard.
Oh.
And I have no idea what that's going to do to our recording. Probably all we'll get is a whiteboard and the pictures, which are at the moment along the top, will vanish in the recording. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's why I popped it up there. When we're practicing, we ought to see what happens.
Yes. And what other people might start playing around with, although they can't do it if they're not
if they're not a host, they can't.
Right.
In our preamble to our people, we might put the protocols, if they're simple, up for so as we talk about them, people can see them. What are you doing now, Sherry?
Nothing.
That's me. It's me. Oh,
Who did that?
that was me.
I see. My gosh, give everybody a blue star and they go mad.
Hey, we got to try these things
I know.
to see what
Oh
it
God,
does.
what's this? So share my screen. I was thinking I'd be a mirror with everything that's here, but no, it literally shared my screen that's underneath my Fuze application. Ah, careful what is below that.
I see John moving his lips, but he's muted. So we heard nothing about what you said, John.
My colour on the chat field, my little square has gone brown, whereas it was pink for a while. Same colour as Sherry's, so maybe that's
No,
just.
for me it's still pink.
Maybe it's just. Is it right?
All right, what media could not be loaded? Whose media could
Mine.
not be loaded? I see.
I thought it was me. I was pushing buttons.
Mine.
Reminds me of a Pentagon War Games room. Yeah. Media could not be loaded.
Isn't that interesting? So we have some things that we've put up that are not available to us. Oh, that must be the same thing.
So yeah, I just wanted to see how good it would be at uploading JPEGs and or movies, MPIs, if you try to do it on the fly, and it's not very good at that. So
Boy, I'll say.
Is that the Earth and the car rotating that you were
yeah,
attempting to upload?
yeah, those they're pretty graphic intense. So that just, I think that just shows us that if we want to show something like that, we'll want to make sure it's loaded in advance.
It's if we want to. Oh, John, your little symbol has turned brown.
Yes, I feel much better.
See,
How
one
did you
thing
do
I'm
that?
wondering, because oh, he's brown with me too.
How did you do that?
I have no idea.
I'm curious about that you can share a screen, and if you had it, if it was loaded to play on the screen, whether then you share a screen.
I've just loaded up a PDF, Culture Care Barometer.
There you go.
Something's
Yes, that
loaded.
looks lovely.
That's
Wrong format for what we're doing, of course. Remember, I hope to be able to get this up onto YouTube. That works very well.
Yeah,
So
PDFs.
that's a PDF?
yeah.
Yeah, PDFs will load fine. It's just the pictures and MPIs that don't load very well.
Well,
I think that's excellent.
that looks quite good from here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, are you seeing me page forward?
Yes.
Oh, wow, the power of being having a star.
That's you paging forward, is it? I thought it had gone demented for a moment. You've done it again, yes.
Someone's taken over.
Linda is now head of page forwarding. Ah, blank page at last.
Give people blue stars and they go crazy.
I wonder though about doing something on the screen. What they come? They don't.
So you can actually jump to a page, put the number in the center, and you'll see what I mean. So you can jump to any page you want in that PDF. That's terrific, by the way.
Whereabouts in the middle of the screen did you put that number?
There's the controls at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which show go to the first page, go to the back page, or page forward, page backward. But in the middle, there's a little gray square that shows the number of the page. Well, if you select that, in other words, drag your mouse over it and put in a new number, you
Mine's
go
down
to whatever page you want.
Mine's down the left-hand side of the screen. So I'll stop looking at
Well, that's the way it is now that Brexit is going into force.
Yes.
You'll always have it on the left side.
Everything's moving to the left. Hey, well, pretty good. Wow. Can't wait to tell Jackie about this. Right, I'm going to go.
All right.
Have to iron my shoelaces.
Have a fabulous vacation, John.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I don't see you next Monday, I shall think of you next Monday, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Excellent. Thanks, John.
Have a wonderful time, John. We'll be thinking of you.
See you soon.
And we'll all be back. Same time, same place. Next week without John. For the recording, it's Monday, September the 25th, 2017. Here in the Pacific West Coast, it is daylight saving time. It's 9:15 in the morning. Thank you very much for watching and listening.